Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another episode of Biggery News. Chewy, good evening to you, sir.
Hello, Matthew. How you doing?
On a fine yet chilly Dunedin night. Tonight's overnight low is said to be 0, but I tell you what a cracker of a day it was for the sun today. Sun was out, it was gorgeous, and had a nice. My favourite time of year is a clear winter's day in Dunedin. If you're going to get me to pick any day that I enjoyed about living here, a blue sky, crisp, clear winter's day. That's my favourite anyway. It kind of felt like one of those today, Chewy.
Yeah, it's certainly pretty icy this morning, and you say it's an overnight lower too. It's that now where I am. So Jesus, I was heading to work this morning, and I thought, I'm going to use this meat, my brain meat. It rained last night, and it's really fucking cold this morning, and my windscreen is covered in ice. Might be a bit icy.
Yeah.
There were 3 crashes on the motorway this morning. And I saw a fella in very Dunedin fashion. He was wearing shorts, can off his scooter coming down a hill just in front of me. So I was like,
motorbike scooter or electric scooter?
No, little wee moped.
Oof.
He was all right. I checked on him, but
road rash.
I think he styled it out. To be honest, he looked in pretty good order. But just went to turn a corner. Wheels turned, he didn't. It was pretty gnarly.
I've done that a couple of times. I'm still thinking about maybe getting a scooter, but I've done that a couple of times. I in Dunedin, I would imagine if you've got a motorbike or a scooter, you'd probably also have to have a car. I can't imagine that people are riding motorbikes or scooters 365 down here. Maybe I'm just a soft cock. Maybe they're hard and they do it.
Southern men on a nifty 50 wearing shorts and jandals.
Yeah, but very chilly this morning.
You're hard.
When I took the dog to the park, probably 1 o'clock, gorgeous day, sun out, beautiful, but the half of the park that hadn't had sun yet, still frosted. So I did have a hoodie on, but it was a shorts, t-shirt, hoodie. Well, not big, heavy hoodie and jandals, because I used to live in Auckland. So winter footwear in Auckland is jandals with socks. So you can see where the sun didn't touch today. And I know that parts of Dunedin I live in work in, one half of the road through winter doesn't get any sun at all. Like the main road, and that's when everyone walks on the other side of the road. So that the footpath can be iced all day if it's cold enough air temperature as well.
You know the tip to seeing a born and bred local here, eh?
Tell me.
People walking down the hills with big woolly socks over top of their shoes.
Yeah.
That's the tip.
Yep. Heard that. I tell you, I learned something today as well. We've got guys that come around and mow our lawns it's supposed to be every 2 or 3 weeks. It ends up being every 5 or 6 weeks. So the lawns are about this long at the moment, which is a real pain in the backside when you want to pick up the dog poo. When the grass is, 6-7 inches high and the dog poos, you have to go burying to get it. But I learnt today, if you get up there in a frost, the poo is all iced up. It's really easy to pick up. So cold to pick up, but very, very solid and hard. So it's a little tip for new dog owners in cold areas. Do the dog pick up after a frosty morning. Frosty chocolate flakes, just straight into the bag. Nice and easy. There you go. You'll thank me later.
Of course, there is a serious aspect to this cold snap. We've all been told officially that tomorrow morning is National Sleep-In Day. We're not allowed to use power between 8 and 9.
Yeah.
So just stay in bed. Don't
it's
do
7
anything.
to 9, isn't it? I think I got a message here on my phone from my power company. What does it say? It says, yada, 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 is asking New Zealanders to reduce power consumption 7 to 9 a.m., 10th of May. Please visit company's website for more info. No text reply. So it's interesting.
Why?
It's interesting. Apparently there was one of these in 2022. I don't remember it. But there must be something pretty significantly worrying for every power company in New Zealand and all the politicians to go, hey dudes, just for 2 hours tomorrow morning, can you watch it? Do you know what's going to happen with this, Chew? I almost guarantee it, if it hasn't happened already. This is going to be used by some to attack the EV market. Because I noticed when I heard this on the radio news, they said something like, don't charge your devices or your electric vehicles during that time period. And I just thought, there we go. This is going to be used by a certain sector of society to go, we don't have the infrastructure for EVs. EVs are terrible. Let's go back to petrol. That'll be happening in the next 24 hours. People
don't charge during EVs first thing in the morning. It's on the night rates. Everybody knows that. But yeah, it is mentioned. I was blown away by how quick this was weaponized.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Transpower put out the warning, and everybody's sharing it around. But Simeon Brown was straight on it. You know whose fault this is? Labor's.
I thought you were going to say that was the pothole's fault.
Labor has done this to us. And yeah, it's apparently, according to Shane Jones, the solution is more coal and gas, which is just fucking insane. Rather than sort of going, well, we need to do more generation capacity. Now, this was one of the things that they talked about in the run up to the election, right? That National had approved a whole lot more renewable wind farms and all of this sort of stuff. Approving it is just one part of it. So yeah. But coal and gas is not the fucking answer.
I was just looking. There he is there, Bernard Hickey, who follows me. I'll put this up. He put out a tweet about an hour ago, just speaking to what you're speaking to, Chu. Sorry, I'm just doing it at the same time as we're talking. This is the this is the generation of power in New Zealand at 7:35 p.m. tonight, from 4:45 7:35. And the thing he noticed was diesel. 1% of our national power grid is run on diesel. Coal and gas, 7%, gas, 10%, hydro, 63, wind, 7, and at that time, solar, 0. But yeah, there are some places that get their power to their houses, the general grid, on diesel. Go figure.
I'd say that'd be very remote areas or backup generators or something like that. But yeah, it's surprising. Maybe that's the Chathams, actually. The Chatham Islands are run off diesel.
But would that be included in the national grid? Like, that says to me that was the national grid. If it was a separate, like, self-sustaining, self-contained area, maybe. Other people are saying Stewart Island maybe as well. So yeah, maybe. Hey, why don't we fire straight into the story? We haven't done hello to everybody yet. We'll do that in a minute because we're talking about it. We'll go straight to the story from News Hub tonight, shall we?
Yep.
Okay.
Tēnā tātou katoa, good evening. New Zealanders are being urged to reduce power usage tomorrow morning to avoid some parts of the country running out of electricity.
Transpower says an unseasonal cold snap combined with low wind generation means there's potential for a shortfall of electricity between 7 and 9 a.m. Leighton Hakel is across the details and joins us now. Kia ora, Leighton. So how significant is this?
Well, Transpower, which operates the country's electricity transmission, says...
I guess they must know, on average, how much power they would use between 7 and 9. And they must be going... Like, imagine if it was a water tank that held 100 litres, and you know that between 7 and 9 you're going to use 20 of those litres, but based on the trajectory it was going to be at 18 litres based on how much is the regular usage. It must just be something like that, eh? So they're saying for those 2-hour periods, it's obviously before work, then everyone goes to work. But mind you, when you go to work, you continue to use power. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit flummoxed by the whole thing, to be honest. How they can know so certainly in such a small time frame that this is a necessary caution.
I think it'll come back to the fact that they have a lot of data about power spikes and the effect of cold temperatures, and the fact that it's coming out of nowhere. They're just going, okay, we need to factor in another 20% of people just really juicing their heaters early in the morning and taking hot showers and stuff like that, and we need to sort of flatten that curve. Oh my God, I've just had a thought. We're asking the country to band together and flatten the curve. So I assume the cookers are going to be getting the fan heaters out because fucking told what to do.
All right, let's keep going.
It is not a grid emergency yet, but it could be if Kiwis don't follow the advice. Industrial consumers have also been warned, as have line companies, that they may need to cut off things like hot water systems temporarily. But if all those actions don't actually help, then Transpower could start switching off power to some parts of the country, and that's to prevent widespread and longer outages. Now, this is all a result of the cold snap sweeping across the country, bringing drier conditions, lighter winds and very cold temperatures. But the minister in charge says it's actually the former government, the opposition's fault.
Of course it is.
We have seen a significant increase in these types of warnings since 2018, when the last government banned oil and gas exploration. Without that gas to back up when the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing, we don't have the energy we need as a country. This is incredibly concerning. I'm actually heading off to a meeting with Transpower right now.
Labour's Megan Woods says that the minister's comments don't actually make sense to her, and that he of all people should know that if oil and gas was found now, it would take years to come online, adding that the last time gas was found offshore was back in 2000. But regardless of who's responsible, here is what the advice is from 7 to 9 a.m. People, despite the cold temperatures, are being told to turn off or turn down heating, to avoid using dishwashers, washing machines and dryers, and avoid charging devices and EVs. And Transpower says those little steps all add up and go a long way in preventing a widespread power outage.
There you go. So that's the advice for tomorrow. It's you're right. They just must have the data. They must know on average X, Y, Z, and between those two time periods tomorrow, because I guess then they will be getting back through solar tomorrow at that time, which will put more into the tank, as I was the analogy I used before. Yeah, I guess it's a tough one. It also does raise questions when this kind of thing happens, and I think about times in the past where we've had like a snowstorm and people have been cut off for a week, sort of thing, up in central Otago or up up above Canterbury, sort of thing, mid Canterbury. Also the drive against wood burners and that, like we've got a wetback here wood burner, and so if something happened here, we'd be able to at least keep half of the house warm. I've always wondered about that as well, the drive away from the wood burners and, starting to rely on things like heat pumps and that.
Yep. So I don't have a wood burner, as an example.
You can come to mine. Come see me. We'll have pancakes.
Can I borrow a cup of heat, sir?
You can. No problems.
Look, this is one of the things. Like, Simeon Brown equating oil and gas exploration with instantly available generation is fucking insane. He's the Minister for Energy, and he doesn't know how that fucking works, is a real worry. Also, he highlights if the sun's not shining and the wind's not blowing, it's like 90% of our power generation it's fucking hydro dams. That's what they are. The dams are a huge big battery. And what project did National scrap? What was first on the chopping block, Pat?
Remind me.
The Lake Onslow pumped hydro scheme. They shit canned that, and this is exactly what it's for. So yeah, there's no talk of we need to have more renewable generation. There's no talk of we need to look at micro generation for the people. Exactly what you're talking about, the push away from log burners. Like if you're running your home solely on a heat pump, then you should have solar panels and should have a fucking battery. And that's what I'm aiming to do.
Yep.
But again, we're not going to look at those. We're not going to look at making this country more resilient in its energy infrastructure. We're not going to make sure that people are more independently, more resiliently able to get power. We're not going to talk about that. We're just going to fucking drill. And we're going to burn these black rocks that we pull out of a national park. It's fucking brainworms from these guys.
Yeah. Just to let people know, because I would do that as well. I'd add solar into the equation. What you're talking about is having batteries is a thing called a sunny island. So you can either be fully off grid where you've got a big bank of batteries and you just rely on your own power altogether. You can be on grid where you have solar power, and it basically goes into your house and it goes into the grid. But if the grid goes down, your house goes down. You have to have something in between, and it's called a sunny island. And it's basically goes off the roof into the sunny island and then into the grid. So it's always a smaller number of batteries, like being off grid, but it gives you 2, 3, 4 days of power should you need it. So anyone out there is looking, that's the term. I haven't done it yet, but I've investigated it a few times. If you get solar, you should definitely get a sunny island as well, because if you don't, then when the grid goes down, just because you got solar, you don't have power. You need the batteries to do it.
Having solar panels without a battery is, like, I get it. They're expensive, but you're not going to pay off things by exporting to the grid. It just doesn't work here. This is one of the things that we're really behind Australia on. And I see this criticism around of like how we did subsidies for EVs and that sort of thing. Whereas in Australia, or some states in Australia, the subsidies are for solar panels and battery setups.
Yep.
And I think one of these, it might be New South Wales, it might be South Australia. One of those states went all in and built a massive battery storage for their power grid. Because when it gets really hot there, they kind of have the opposite thing. Everybody starts running their air conditioners. And so they built this big battery farm that was just basically to smooth out the load here. Now, there's no talk of batteries here. There's no talk of subsidies for microgeneration. There's no, like, we're going straight to drilling. We're going straight to coal exploration. And that is not going to solve this problem where it's a bit cold for a day.
Yeah.
Like, when did we stop being resilient people? When did it become a blame the previous government for a power company going, hey, just for a couple of hours, just be aware?
Well, that happened about October of last year, I believe. That's when we stopped being those people, wasn't it? About then?
Yeah. Almost instantly. I mean, I remember brownouts in the 90s, and that was under national because the hydro lakes were empty.
Yeah.
And I remember streetlights being turned off after 10 and all sorts of stuff. There was a big push against this. It just happens. It's just something that we have to deal with. And we need to go, well, how do we avoid this in future? We need more generation. We need to look at how we're doing it. These guys aren't going to talk about it because we'll get New Zealand back on track by going back to the 1800s of burning shit that we dig out of the ground.
JC has said something, and also the Pigeon Cats has said something that I was just thinking about as well. The talking down of the EV, you'll know the term better than me. You know, when you get an EV, you can put the power back into the house. What if every house had a big battery sitting in the driveway they could draw power from during grid shortages? You could have wheels on them for getting around later. How, like this, I've seen this on some, like on the Ford Lightning, big massive batteries, and they'll run your house for 2 days sort of thing. I actually think my car might have it as well, to be honest with you. But what would like a 77 kilowatt battery do, and how would you do it?
So most, or not most, there's quite a lot of modern EVs can do what's called vehicle to load.
Yep.
Where you can power household appliances off a car. Things like the MG4 is the first one that springs to mind. I think BYD do it as well. One guy that I like, Kiwi EV on YouTube, he has a video where he delivered a BYD Dolphin to a house affected by the storms up in the North Island last year.
Right.
And they were able to power their house with it. And basically the houses around just, were running freezers off it and that sort of thing. And it was enough for a couple of days. Obviously, you have to be pretty careful about what you're running. You wouldn't run a whole house completely normally off it. But look, if it keeps your freezers going, or it keeps your medical equipment going, or it keeps the lights on in the evening, that's something that we should be looking at. But yes, that's one of the benefits of EVs. When they're talking about, hey, look, don't charge your EV between 8 and 9. That's insane. Nobody does that.
Right. I've never done that. Just checking. No, I've never done that. Hey, we are already in danger zone of tangenting off and making a very long show, but I am going to ask a question. Actually, let's just do this first of all. Thank you for the super chat, Huey Bird. Shane Jones is a natural renewable source of gas and wind. He could power a lot of homes. Thank you for that. Nate on the super chat, $5. Thank you, Nate. When does it become inappropriate for Luxon to count the length of times they've been in power in days? What we've achieved in our first 912 days, well, that's sort of a little bit like where my tangent was going to go, but just so people know, Nick wants everyone to know that he just snuck in time. I just thought we'd be able to play that now. This is a genuine question, right? Not just a piss take or a let's smash national kind of thing, but they've been there for 6 months. What on earth is that? Is that you or me? Was that you?
Sounded like you.
Unless someone else has got a phone in here, because I don't. My one's not making noises. Okay, moving on. They've been in for 6 months. At what point do we start holding them responsible for the things they said they'd do? I know I've asked this before, but actually, Jenny, I think it was Jenny May Coffin, is that right? Jenny May Coffin, TVNZ Breakfast. She was pressing the Prime Minister on the shooting in Ponsonby, which we haven't really talked about at all, of a gang member who was not patched and was not assembled with other gang members, so your legislation will have done nothing to prevent this. When she challenged him with that, he basically went, "Oh, we're being tough on crime and tough on gangs." He's like, "No, but what he should have done was say, yeah, look, in this instance, our laws wouldn't have changed anything for that incident," but he's too dumb to actually figure that out. But you know, the knockoffs we're still seeing in Michael Hill stores and those sorts of things that are still happening. At what point do we say, you this is yours now, National? You said you were going to fix these things. They're not fixed yet. How long do we give them? I know the power grid is not that because it wasn't any promises, but at what point is it realistic? Because like, you know, the day after they come in, sure, this has got nothing to do with you guys. 3 years after they come in, well, it's really all to do with you guys. Where's the line in between for these things, especially on the things they've said they're going to fix and make better, which aren't yet? Not saying it should be yet, but I'm saying we've got to have some kind of line as to when it's like, okay, you're failing now. I don't have an answer to that, by the way. I'm just throwing out the question.
Yeah. Look, if we were being fair and even-handed, like, it would be fucking stupid to blame National for this.
Yep.
And I think it's equally dumb for them to blame the previous government, because we know that there's a bunch of power generation that's been consented, and then nothing's being done with it. So who's to blame for that? Yeah. Well, I mean, when you say not to blame for this, you're talking about the power grids. I agree with you, right, about the power grids. But the crime one, like, okay, you've said you're going to be tough on crime. Okay, you said you're going to crack down on gangs. Okay, you've said all these things. They haven't happened yet. At what point do we say they need to have happened by now? Like, let's be fair as well. Think it was the other way around. At 12 months, do they own it? It's 6 months now. At 12 months, do they own it? 18 months, 2 years? Let's be fair. Think if it's the other way around. Think Labour and the Greens, or the Greens and Labour or whatever just got in with Party Māori. Just take the party out of it. Like, a government, how quick can a government have an impact on something like crime stats, where they turn around to the police and they go, "We want you to focus on this. Yeah. By the way, to support you, we've opened up more funding for more recruits," but they're not going to come on stream for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. So what can you do now? How many officers can you get standing outside Michael Hill?
Yeah,
you know, how many people wearing hoodies can we just jam in a prison?
Well, I mean, I'm going to throw out 12 months. Give them a year to get, and that includes downward pressure on rent. That includes the crime stats. That includes, you know, gang patches. Or 12 months. Now, you know, if you've watched us for a long time, a bunch of that stuff I don't think is going to work, and I don't agree with. But if they've said they're going to do it at 12 months, which means October of this year, I guess, they have no, I'm not even saying they've got it right now, but the idea of blaming the last lot is completely gone as an excuse. Does that feel fair? 12 months?
Yeah. Let's stick a pin in that.
Yeah. Oh, look, even Kiwi Skirt's with us. And you know, if Kiwi Skirt says it's fair, then done. Now, all that means, and you'll find this a lot if you watch our show, is that when the opposite happens, like to your team, and you get people in the chat or on Twitter or whatever going, oh, I suppose you'd never talk about, and we go, yeah, we did talk about that, whatever that issue was, completely. So right now, would be going in the first year of a Green-led Labor government. I think a year is fair to see an impact. And they'll be going, oh, did you do that for National? Yeah, actually, it's exactly what we're saying. We'll give them a year. Doesn't mean they're not impacting stuff right now, like more cuts going to ACC that ACC and the experts are saying are going to lead to more accidents and more sexual assaults. So we can hold them accountable for the decisions they're making. But, these big things, these big systemic issues, 12 months.
Like you couldn't really say that for education, right? Because it takes
100 days. 100 days. Stay consistent.
Like there's stuff that you can't say that you will see an effect on National's changes to education, as an example, until that cohort sort of works its way through the education system. That's why there was such a long tail to previous changes that National did to education,
national standards,
which they then blamed on Labor.
Mm-hmm.
And just
got away with thanks to the media. Got away with blaming Labor thanks to the stupid media.
Absolutely. And before we move too far away from this, I put it up in the chat. I'll put a link up again. But this is the video and channel that's an awesome freeze frame. Sorry, Gavin.
Electricity. Yeah, Gavin's been on.
Yeah. Is he a friend of the show?
I'm going
to say yes.
We'll see.
Ecotricity New Zealand's YouTube channel, after disaster, deploying the BYD Atto 3 electric car as a mobile power station. It's something that I sort of think of whenever we talk about this. It's a great little video. I'll put the link in the chat.
All right. I think we're going to keep moving. Is there any chats we want to get to? Just because we're going to go talk about David Seymour's got a couple of features tonight. If we get too long, we'll drop one of them. But anything else? There's a super chat there from Peter that says it certainly doesn't mean we should shut the fuck up and wait. We're talking about we should not say anything about what we're saying. Completely agree. And there are some things, I'll say it again, that this government is doing now that we can hold them accountable for now. I just think, and Chewy's just said it as well, we've got those big society-wide systemic issues, realistically, there's going to be a point where we're going to have to then push them hard on not blaming the last lot. And look, I actually think, unfortunately, it's a little bit like sitting back and watching your kid about to touch the fire. You know it's going to be bad, and you try and stop it, but you can't. It's going to happen. I think that's what we're saying. These things are going to fall over, and they're not going to be any better at 12 months. But I think if anyone was going to make a change, that's the timetable you'd probably need to give them to see step one complete. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, and I don't think it's going to make any difference. Hey, this is really interesting, man. ACT Party proposes new Treaty of Waitangi definitions. New definitions. And this is all before the tribunal at the moment, which they're now going to try and undermine as much as possible with the latest ability for ministers to not be called up by it. But this is really interesting. And if you listen to some of the wording of the big brains in the room, they're all basically saying this is nonsensical, isn't it? Yes, this is nonsensical. The people proposing these things don't know anything, do they? No, they don't know anything. Have a listen.
The controversial Treaty Principles Bill is now at the centre of an urgent inquiry by the Waitangi Tribunal. The ACT Party policy proposes a new definition for the Treaty of Waitangi, and there's a heated backlash. Māori Affairs correspondent Tianiwa Hurihanganui reports.
The message in Waitangi was clear.
And you want to gut the treaty in front of all of these people? Hell no!
And it's only getting louder.
If this bill goes through, it's going to cause massive Māori unrest.
Now the Waitangi Tribunal is hearing.
It is interesting just after having that conversation last night, and we will try and open Discord, in the not too distant future. Love to hear from any of you who watched that doco and see what your thoughts are. But just thinking about that doco last night and going, what Māori can do when they really, really need and want their voices to be heard. Like ACT and the National. I think that Luxon's probably smart enough to know, holy shit, we don't want a piece of this, but they may get it anyway because they've given a guarantee that they'll go through the first reading. So you might get it anyway, Luxon. Remember, we've said it before, we'll say it again. If you open the door, you own anything that breaks, that comes through. And this is something, super something.
their case.
We're not used to having so many people for a hearing of this nature.
Claimants and treaty experts say David Seymour's interpretation of the Māori text is alarmingly inaccurate.
This cutting and pasting exercise of the Treaty of Waitangi demeans, debases and trivialises our founding document.
And they say affords both the Crown and Pākehā more rights than the treaty promised.
Is it your opinion that whoever did this doesn't understand the language?
Certainly, without doubt.
The treaty is...
There you go. That's, there's a bit of I draw a line in the sand. Seymour, you do not understand the language.
It's widely considered an exclusive agreement between the Crown and Māori, but ACT wants to grant chieftainship rights to all New Zealanders.
The people that are recognised in that signing are Māori.
The Ministry of Justice overseeing the bill agrees it's flawed.
We note that it's a novel interpretation of Article 2, that there's no...
Yeah, how polite is that? It's a novel interpretation. Let's just say it's you almost need to do a little like the double take. It's a bit novel, this interpretation.
Support for it in legislation, judicial interpretation, or expert opinion.
Warning ministers early on about the potential backlash.
Your advice to ministers is that progressing the bill is likely to induce and cause social disruption.
The Office of Māori Crown Relations also made a major concession.
Is that text of the Treaty Principles Bill, in your opinion, as the lead policy manager for Te Arawhiti, consistent with the Crown's obligations under the Treaty of Waitangi?
No.
It's significant.
Boom. That's the Crown. That's the Crown's voice saying the new interpretation does not meet the Crown's obligations. I mean, you know.
To have that concession from a senior official from the Crown that we already knew anyway.
Yep.
The hearing is set to continue at the final day tomorrow.
We know there's a lot of
Yeah. So lots to think about there. It's the people who are there for the Crown are saying this doesn't meet the obligations that the Crown has for the Treaty of Waitangi. The experts are saying this is not how you read the Māori version of the Māori treaty, and it's just it just lends more and more weight to if they try and ram something through. This is going to be, I mean, like seabed and foreshore, maybe times 2. You know, it's going to be something very different because this is the founding document.
This is something that Māori would be righteously incandescent about.
Yeah.
And I hope it doesn't get to the stage of people marching or as was said at the start of that clip, unrest. But if it does, if this government keeps bulldozing this through, then I'll be marching as well.
Yeah,
that's exactly what we're talking about. Māori won't be doing this alone.
Yeah. And remember the words of Jedi Tamaiti last night. It's about igniting something within us, yet always prioritizing peace. We mustn't succumb to chaos. That path leads to darkness. Tamaiti's words from the documentary we were talking about last night. Hikoi. So yeah, I don't want to say it'll be fascinating, like, oh, it'll be interesting as a media observer. I mean, like, it's just going to be, it's actually terrifying is what it is. If there are such a small group of people getting smaller and smaller by the day, because they're all 92, who think that this is going to do anything but I'm not even going to say tear this country in half. It's going to tear this country into like 60% sitting in one part, 30% national voters not trying to get involved, and 10% New Zealand First and ACT supporters thinking that this is a level conversation. This is not going to be one of those times where you get two experts on and give them even weighting. Remember, the format of how we say things, the format of how we set things up is going to make all the difference to this. And it's going to be, as an observer, interesting to see what the media does with this. And as a participant, Shui, I'll be there with you, mate. I'll be there with you.
Do you know what this made me think of? And you know I love a sporting analogy, Pat. You know I'm really good at them because of my extensive sports knowledge. Talking about how there's been waves of Māori protest and over the decades, and it builds and builds and builds. It feels like when the rugbyers, the people that do the rugby, they do the practice and they've got the scrum machine, and you get everybody together and you sort of engage and you push the thing forward, and then you have a little bit of a rest for a while. Yeah, it's a scrum. You've got to move the ball forward, and it's not all one big fluid movement. It's just like every now and then you just got to really get together, put your shoulders down and move it. That's what this feels like. And it's like every 10 fucking years we people have to get together and do this. And the scrum's getting bigger.
Picking up on your analogy though, it's not against a scrum machine, which would be an inanimate object to be pushed around for training. It's against another scrum, but I feel like a scrum normally has 8 people in it, 8 forwards on each side, so 16 in total. It feels like one side's got 12 and one side might have 4. You know, the side with 12 is the side on the right side of history. So that scrum would easily win, but that team of 4, if it's the right 4 or the 4 with the access or the 4 with the casting vote or the 4 with enough money behind them, can still do some pretty good damage to the other bigger scrum. Could actually defeat the other bigger scrum given the right circumstances. A bunch of cheating and stuff going on. Staying with the sports analogy, of course. Did I lose you there when I said cheating or anything at any point? Let's just say a huge thanks to all our patrons. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of what we do. We couldn't do it without you. I mean, those of you who are regulars, you will know we've got a completely new sound system in this week, and we are using it for really, really important
things, like making funny voices.
Yeah! There we go.
And without the patrons, we would be still, as I said last Thursday night and Monday night, rubber bands and sellotape holding the studio together to try and do this. Thanks to our super patrons and our producers, a bunch of new people in there over the last week or so. A huge number of patrons, giving me another problem that I'm going to have to make another board. I think we're going to need to go to a scrolling screen, shall we? Maybe at the end, do some credits or something like that. I'll start working on that this weekend. Something like that. Something like that. And I might start working on that. Something, but it has to be something that can be quickly and easily adjusted as well, because sometimes I'm putting up new names every single day. So, nyash, we shall see. So thank you for being a part of what we do. Genuinely thank you, and need you to be able to do this, because without you, we wouldn't have a computer right now running the system that we're running, paying for the software that we're using, all that kind of stuff. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you enjoy what we do, if you think you want to put some money where your mouth is, if you want to get behind us in a financial way, patreon.com/Big Hairy News. There are as little as $5 a month memberships, and it goes up to, I think, 250, which are our executive producers. And I think next weekend we'll do a meetup. So next Saturday in the morning, if you're a patron, a paid patron, put it aside. We'll do an online meetup to say good day to everyone and give you all a bit of an update on where we're at right now. Who's messaging me? Oh, I like her. She's nice. Okay. How about we go and have a look at this budget announcement? I'm not fine. I've already said flummoxed today, haven't I? I'm not flummoxed by the budget announcement, but it just seemed to be a little bit of I guess it's because, you know what it is, Chewy? It's everything we've said it would be. It's meandering. We're giving tax cuts. Yeah, here's your $2. Here's your $1. Here's your $4. We're going to let you keep some of your own money. Yep, $9 a week.
Sounds great that it's 85% of people over 16 or some absolute nonsense.
So when I listened to this evening, or watched this evening, I was a little bit kind of nonplussed, going, well, there's not really much to say here. But I guess that's because, honestly, this is what we've been saying for quite a long time. So it feels like this is yesterday's news. But perhaps for some people, they do need to see what's going on. And you better get prepared for your $2 a week tax cut, whilst you're paying $50 a week to send your kids on school buses. Well done, National.
We've met our savings target. That's the message from the
We've cut enough out of public service.
Finance Minister as she gears up for this month's budget. In her first official pre-budget speech, Nicola Willis confirmed $1.5 billion has been found in savings across government agencies. In some cases, the money saved has been redirected to frontline services. In keeping with the government's ethos, it won't be a big spending budget, although the minister plans her tax relief package will lift the take-home income of 83% of us over 15. But we'll only get the details on Budget Day, May 30th. One early announcement, though, the establishment of a new social investment agency replacing the social wellbeing agency. It's aimed at getting more bang for the social services buck. With more, here's political editor Mikey Sherman.
As the Finance Minister prepares to open up the government books, she admits the grim outlook has weighed heavily.
In my first 6 months as Finance Minister, each Treasury update seems to be worse than the last.
I think that's because it is, and I think that is because the promises you made can't be done along with the tax cuts. And so, yeah, it seems to be worse each time because it probably is. And we'll just say it again for the 19,000th time of our we're going to say this 3 million times in this term, and we're up to 19,000. And if it wasn't for those $3 billion going back to landlords, those projections may not have been quite so bad.
Do you think the Treasury updates are, dear Nicola, we hate you?
Yeah, something like that. Good Lord.
Sadly, I have learned to dread what comes out of the forecasters' mouths when they come into my office.
How about just taking some acknowledging here? The dread that's coming out of their mouths is due to what, Nicola? Possibly due to the policies you're putting in place and then projecting what's going to fucking happen with that. So if you're dreading hearing the news back from Treasury based on your policy, why the fuck don't you do some work on your policy? And then maybe the next one wouldn't be quite so bad when Treasury comes back to you and goes, you know what you're going to do? Yeah, it's going to fuck us up pretty good. Maybe that's the thing to focus on rather than that pithy little, I dread it. It's like, getting bad news from a boyfriend. It's just think as to why you're dreading it and why it's bad. Why don't we start there, eh? Go from there.
Despite that, Nicola Willis is resolute.
I think New Zealanders voted for us knowing we're good at doing clean-up jobs, that we're good at making more of this.
There's no evidence of that. Like evidence of clean-up jobs. What? No evidence of that. Clean-up of what?
She urged business leaders to keep the faith amidst growing pessimism.
I'd simply say this. It is darkest before the dawn.
The darkest days have seen more than 4,000 job cuts across government agencies, saving $1.5 billion.
I am confirming today that we have met.
Actually, I'm interested as to if all of those 4,000 people then needed to go on wins, that's going to cost the government money. I wonder what the offset is. I've never heard that number done. That's worth checking out. Because they say they've saved $1.5 billion by basically firing 4,000 people. If all those people ended up on wins, what's the offset? Just a thought. Because wouldn't that we do?
Yeah.
Income in, income out.
So I mean, that's anybody that's dealt with wins will know this, right? But generally, if you get sacked or you quit a job and then don't have another job lined up, you've got to wait something like 2 or 3 months before you can go on a job seeker benefit. If you've been made redundant, that drops dramatically. I think you can even go on straight away.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't see why many people would, but the people that are letting go, I assume, are employable. But there's a hell of a lot of them that have just been released into the job market.
Yeah. Worming's got an answer for us there. Cleanup equals vacuuming more money for the wealthy. Thank you for your super chat.
Yeah, look, I don't know about you, Pat, or people in the chat. She's Ruth Richardson with a better haircut, but I just don't trust her.
Well, all right, let's keep going and seeing. Maybe I'm being harsh. Maybe there's a bit of gold at the end of this rainbow.
That savings target.
It's a substantial saving that's come through. It highlights that government departments have been operating with a lot more money than possibly they've needed to deliver.
This guy, his take from this is government departments have been operating with more money than they've needed. How about they haven't been operating with enough money and this is just going to screw the departments worse than they were? That's also a possible outcome from this. But this guy from Brad Olsen, from whatever group he's from, his takeaway is, well, if they're doing this, I guess that means that these departments must have been running on more than they needed. There's no evidence for that. Just because you've pulled out a whole bunch of money doesn't mean that they had more. It might mean that they had enough or they didn't have enough and now they're even worse off.
Savings target.
It's a substantial saving that's come through. It highlights that government departments have been operating with a lot more money than possibly they've needed to deliver in recent times.
Now that you've met the goal, can you give an assurance that there will be no more budget cuts, no more job losses?
In future, of course, we will make changes to government agencies if we think they're needed to deliver better results for New Zealanders.
Voters expecting a tax cut were reassured.
One thing that we promised them we would deliver was letting them keep a bit more of their own money.
Yeah, no, that's actually not what was promised. I believe there was hints and words like significant and not a bit more of their money. I believe the phrasing and the verbiage used before the election was a little bit more dramatic and positive than a bit more of their money. I'll do some research on that as well.
But just how much may look different.
We could see that those tax cuts might be a bit more modest than have been first expected, given you've seen that government revenue is lower than expected.
$10 extra per week for a New Zealander is not going to mean all too much when your rent's going up by $50.
Nicola Willis chalked up a significant win today, banking $1.5 billion in savings across dozens of government departments in such a short space of time is no mean feat, all while under the glare of thousands of people who lost their jobs in the process. Now her biggest test awaits.
Threading the needle through a very narrow gap of doing enough to keep the economy moving, but not too much to overstimulate it. That's what economists are looking for.
With 21 more sleeps until budget day. Mikey Sherman, One News.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, like I said, it feels like we've already covered off all of that. Maybe that's why it felt a bit flat to me. Like, yeah, we know this. Yeah, we know this. But that's, I think, part of the point. Many of us know this, but this government will just push it through and crash through no matter what. I mean, this whole kind of, it's going to be more modest. You know, no. $250 a fortnight for your average family. Let's not forget what was being promised beforehand. You know, significant savings, a meaningful difference. These were the kinds of terms that were being used before the election, not like keep a little bit or keep a bit of their income. No, you don't get to walk it back.
And don't forget the almost universal condemnation from people that it wasn't going to work. So, look, I think I've been brewing for what we're going to do on the show around the budget. Mm-hmm. I think it is like the swag hat is just here.
Yeah,
so it's waiting
for all the money we're going to get.
Yeah, sure. Let's say that.
Let's go with that.
But there's lots of ways that small amount of money that is going to go out to families and average wage earners and stuff like that, it's going to get eaten. It's going to get eaten because your bank's put its rates up. It's going to get eaten by the landlord putting his rates up. It's going to get eaten by your council putting their rates up because Three Waters is gone. You take a bus to work, you send the kids to school on a bus, that money's gone. It's gone 17 different ways without meaningfully affecting somebody's life. So don't crow to me about tax cuts.
I'm just writing down a number because I can't tell if it's millions or billions because gold has just done the numbers for us. Single 25 plus years, dole 665 a week. 1 year at 4,000 people, and that's 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. That's 138 million to 300,000. So that'll be but that's a single person and stuff. So that 1.5 pretty much goes down to 1.3 straight away with that, if I've got that right, unless it's 1.3 billion. 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. Put commas in your numbers, for goodness sake, guys. It's just a thought. I hadn't thought of it before. There is an offset, you know? That's like, I hate watching these fucking reality TV shows where they make up houses and they spend $100,000 and now the house is worth this much money. No, you've got to take off the $100,000 as well because you've spent $100,000. So it's not worth what you're saying. It's the difference between. Anyway, we won't go there. We won't go there as well for a couple of reasons. And I think I've seen Kiwi Skirt do this a few times. Chuck in the link to the old Discord there, Kiwi Skirt, and after this story, which will be a quickie, we'll go take some people who are already sitting there having a bit of a chat. Two things about this story that I wanted. Actually, the one thing I like about this story most of all. Okay, two things about this story. The first is we told you so. right? The first is we told you so. The first is we told you so based on the story that I always tell around universities, where they'd say, fees next year are going up by 10%. Everyone would go, what are you talking about? And then they go, oh, no, they're only going up by 5%. And the people who didn't have a clue went, yay! And the rest of us went, it's still up by 5%. So the national government, led by David Seymour, not the government, but the government led by David Seymour, we're going to cancel school lunches. We're going to cancel school lunches. What are you talking about? We're going to cancel school lunches. No, you're not going to do that. We're only going to cancel $100 and something million worth of school lunches. Yay! It's like, hang on. That's a huge cut out of these school lunches. So what they've done is they've put out the expectation of 0, and some people and groups and organisations are now celebrating that it's kind of cut in half. It's like, no, let's focus on that. It's been cut in half, approximate numbers. And let's now look at from that point as to what's going to happen. Let's have a look.
The government's getting rid of the scraps, promising it'll feed more for less in its rejig of the Healthy School Lunches
That's from Narnia World, where you feed more for less.
program. ACT's leader and Associate Education Minister David Seymour says the government's treating taxpayers' money with respect, saying, quote, forget quinoa, couscous and hummus. It'll be more like sandwiches and fruit. Currently feeding 235,000 students, the new plan aims to save approximately $107 million a year compared to how Labor funded it. The cost cutting will come from ordering to it.
And look, 19,001 times now, guys, I acknowledge it. They're saving $100 million a year. What is that? 1/30th, 1/29th of the money they're giving back to landlords. $100 million versus $1.9 billion. 1/19th. No, what? 2.9 billion. 1/29th. 1/29th. And now they're going, we just can't afford it. We just can't afford $107 million extra dollars. Here, landlords, $3 billion. Going to keep saying it. Going to keep saying it.
Attendance numbers to stop food waste and ordering in bulk, trimming prices from around $8 per lunch to $3. $478 million will be allocated in the budget to keep the program going until the end of 2026. The plan also includes $4 million to feed up to 10,000 2- to 5-year-olds who attend low-equity, not-for-profit, community-based early learning services. Senior political reporter Benedict Collins has more.
At this Wainoia Mata primary school today, mac and cheese was on the menu, snacks too.
Is it good? Yes, I'm eating that right now.
And for their principal, relief was in the air.
The last few months have been really awful, so we've been very vocal as a school because we know this program works.
That feared David Seymour was going to scrap the free school lunch program, but today he revealed more of a tweak.
Every student who's eligible today will be eligible this time next year.
For primary schools, the program stays exactly the same. For older children, though, the government will try and save money and buy lunches in bulk.
Well, I don't know.
Sounds delicious, doesn't it? Here's the next 3 weeks worth of bread. Look, I mean, I actually acknowledge you can, of course, you can make a meal a bit more cheaply, a bit less expensive. I wonder what they'll get though when it comes to a nutritional breakdown. I mean, do you want to pay $100 million more? Oh, I might have said this before, Chewy. Whilst you're giving $3 billion back to landlords and get them, you know, I remember some of the interviews they had with some of the kids in the last few weeks. Their favourite foods were things like buttered chicken. Amazing. Rice and chicken and, you know, veggies in there as well versus a peanut butter sandwich. I mean, I love a peanut butter sandwich, but would I rather pay a little bit more for my kids to get better food? Yeah. Yeah, I probably would.
Yeah. Oh, and well, it's always
I don't know if
just the money. It's not the fringe benefits. It's not the social aspects. It's not everything that comes with it. At the end of the day, you're penny pinching off feeding kids.
Yeah. Literally taking the food out of children's mouths. Well done. National 2026.
Well, I don't know if you've ever bought 200,000 lunches before, but they tell me if you do, it's less than if you buy maybe a couple of hundred for your local school.
They're hoping to get them cheap.
We are budgeting $3 per lunch. We believe that people may be surprised at the quality.
I see that he seems to be appointing himself nutritionalist in chief for schools and proposes to remove choice.
This intermediate school, anxious the new model might not work as well for them.
If there'd been a bit more research into the difference it was actually making, maybe they'd be less likely to interfere with it in the first place.
The government believes they'll save $100 million.
By thinking smarter.
And they'll expand the program.
Oh, what did you say the other day about Debate Club, Chewy?
He's a Debate Club nerd.
He wants to
He's
be the
gotta
smartest kid.
guy in the room.
Oh.
And there's always
Drop to
something smarmy that he can add on.
Oh.
And early childhood kids.
Kids don't just become hungry when they turn 5, and so yeah, I think it's a huge win.
While it was plain, hearty fare in Wainuiamata today, David Seymour says too often that's not the case.
A lot of the delivery that's been done in the Healthy School Lunch program is extravagant. If you don't get that sushi's woke, I don't know how to wake you up.
That's not a word that I would use to describe sushi. I would describe it as delicious.
What do you think woke food is?
Feed the kids.
The Prime Minister, though, no appetite for discussing it.
Right, and that's news?
Well, yes, because I'm asking.
Is it news?
Yeah.
Perhaps a little hangry. And if sushi
Yeah, and this is the ACT Party conference just to finish off with the
truly
woke
is
food.
woke, it's clearly not sending. The ACT Party broke. Benedict.
I do want to play one other thing because there is something. The Prime Minister is getting a bit pissy. They played a little part of that in this, but I want to play you actually more of it. Getting questioned by One News on the woke food.
No audio?
Did you say no audio?
No audio. Can't hear it.
Okay. Don't know why it's doing that. We won't bother. We won't even try, team. We won't even try because that should just be playing on this like everything else. Okay, we'll leave it. All right. He basically goes on for 90 seconds. I'm being really grumpy with TVNZ for asking that question.
I saw a chat come in, and I want to jump on this because this is classic. It is classic. I've seen it repeated so many times in comment sections, letters to the editor, or replies on videos, all of it. It's so boring, and it's so easily refuted. Let's have a look and let's have an analyze. Mid Canterbury, aptly named for one of the more boring parts of the country. It's a parent's responsibility to, misspelled, feed their own kids, misspelled. Not only other people, other people, and your clown face emoji if you think otherwise. Okay, so let's take this.
Just hang on, just stop. Just can you use real like single syllable words because Mid Canterbury will not understand anything else by looking at that spelling.
Other countries, richer and poorer than us, manage to feed their school kids. Like just as a matter of course. So what makes it impossible for us to do it? Why is it suddenly bad to do that, to feed kids? Also, if you take that fact of like, it's solely a parent's responsibility to feed their kids, what if they can't or won't?
Yeah.
Okay, what if? Let's just say that. Do we as a society go, oh, well, dead kids?
Yeah.
Starving kids at school.
Yeah.
They don't learn. The cycle of deprivation, of poor educational outcomes, of disappearing in the cracks of our society keep going. And now you're having to fund addiction services, more police, prisons, all of these sort of things because you didn't want to shell out for mac and cheese when this kid was growing up and trying to learn, trying to escape whatever their shitty parents are doing. You know, that is the thing. There is a net positive to feeding kids for our entire society. But Mid Canterbury thinks kids should go hungry because it is better for the child to suffer the sins of their parents.
Yep.
Mid Canterbury, I'm going to underline this if you're still in the chat. Fuck you and fuck that line of thinking. Are we clear?
I'm clear.
Good.
I'm not messing with you, but you're just so true. I mean, like that's the two main arguments are: many countries in the world do this, and if I'll use a horrible term, right? If the parents are dirtbags, why should the kids have to pay the price, right? Now, on top of that, you've got, as you've said, a perfect analogy of a fence at the top of the cliff. Exactly right. And kids learn better when they're fed, not when they're starving. Better for the kid better for the school, better for the environment, flows on, better for society. I will take your fuck you and I will up you a fuck off as well. Okay. Let's just, so a couple of Gareth says as well, I vowed to Super Chat BH in the weekly tax break I get $3.50.
We need more money than that.
And Citizen Gold says, see, it's not a rumor. Seymour genuinely is the worst human. Thank you for your 2 Super Chats. Appreciate that. Let's do some Discord, eh?
Yep.
Let's give it a crack. See if it's going to work. We're not sure if it's going to work.
If Mid-Canterbury's still there, bro, jump on. Let's hear you defend your point of view.
No, I'm cool with that. Mid-Canterbury, come have a chat. In fact, we'll invite anybody who has a different position. It's pretty clear where we sit politically to come and have a chat. We won't swear at you on there. We'll be respectful. We've done this before. You be respectful. We'll be respectful. And that's about it. So if you want to get into Discord, there you go. Kiwi Skirt's just put it in the chat. Discord. I'll bring it across and show you if you haven't done it before. People, come on, Discord. Come to the other screen. Here we go. Come across. Good Discord. Well done. All you need to do is to hop into Discord, and over here on this side of the room, well, you can't really see what I'm like that. Let me do this. I'll just do this for that. Over here is a waiting room. See the waiting room just there? You just put yourself in the waiting room like these people have here, and I will drag you into the live call-in, and then we are chatting. That's how it
Where do I need to be, Pat?
Where do you need to be?
Where do I need to be? Yes.
I think you need to be here.
Just in here. I don't need to be in the room.
Oh, no. This is hopefully the same as last time. Remember we used to do it.
Okay, cool.
You're
Just
right?
checking.
You're right.
Just checking. Want to be in the right place.
Are you okay?
Don't want to make a bloody fool out of myself.
Do you want to cuddle? You all right?
No, it's okay, buddy. Move it.
Right.
Let's go.
All right. Let's just and listen. I'll try and announce you guys on the Discord like 5 seconds before we come to you, so you can turn your mics and stuff on. It's good to see you've got your mics. Your mic's muted at the moment. So we'll start with Sam and just go up the line as I'm looking at it. So Sam, if you want to unmute your mic, and we'll bring you across. And there we go. Sam, you are on with Pat and Chewy. Hubba huge. Turn your mic on and say g'day. Hey, there we go. Hey, video. G'day, Sam.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. How's it going with you?
Oh, it's going good. Now, I think the Food in Schools program with the centralisation model that David Seymour has got on the cards is that the desert road's going to be closed and the kids in the lower North Island are going to go hungry. Now, when I worked for BP in a North Island store, all our sandwiches came from Auckland, from LSG Skychef. Now, let's say David Seymour decides the same place. Every time the desert road was closed, the lower North Island BP stores had no sandwiches delivered that day. So can you picture, a news article today? Not just the desert road got closed, but kids went hungry because we centralised everything in Auckland.
The point you raise is interesting actually, because when he talks about buying them in bulk, like bulk ordering, you do kind of think that means getting like 1,000 shipped in. And that straight away makes me think of all those news articles we've seen in the past few weeks about, part-time workers and mums and stuff in the kitchen of the shops, making them fresh for people and delivering them hot. So yeah, I also did the numbers where they talked about those 10,000 2 to 5 year olds having $4 million spent on them. That comes down to, 4 million divided by 10,000 is it comes down to $2 anyway. Is what, 400,000 or 40,000, whatever the numbers are. It comes down to $2 each. Now that's $2 each a meal. It's not going to last very long. I did that over 200 meals because I thought, schools are about open about 200 days a year, and it's $2 a meal if it's 200 days.
While I appreciate your concern for the children of the South Island, as a former child of the South Island, we're really good at foraging for roots and berries. Sometimes we snuck into the farm next door to the school to steal swedes.
We just need a bridge to go out in Ashburton, and there's the South Island supermarket system went down when the Ashburton Bridge went out a few years ago. So
yeah, that's an interesting point.
If they can throw out the supermarket system, it probably is going to throw up the Food in Schools program as well. If a bridge goes down, if you bring in a centralisation model that David Seymour seems to talk about economies of scale.
Yeah.
Let alone, can you get hot food delivered from Auckland to Wellington or from Christchurch to Dunedin in a reasonable time? I mean, even Pizza Hut and Domino's, they're their target ranges, was it like, it's there within 30 minutes, not there within, was it 30 hours?
Yeah. No, it's an interesting point, Sam, and it's a fair point you raised. Hey, thanks for calling in tonight, mate. Appreciate it.
No problem.
So there you go. Sam's had his. Yeah, I mean, like, as is always, Chewy and Paula, we're coming to you next. As is always, I guess you'd say that the devil is in the detail.
It also sounds like mad central government, doesn't it? That's exactly what Seymour doesn't like, right? He's taking money out of the communities, and he's just going to get whatever big company can supply fucking half-stale ham and cheese sandwiches at the lowest price possible. Yeah. They're going to get the money.
Yeah. All right. We'll go say good day to Paula. Hello, Paula.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, man. We got you.
Yeah, we can hear you. How you doing?
Yeah, kia ora, lads.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Haven't been on here in a while. So I don't know. I want to talk about last night's episode.
Sure.
So it was a great show last night, and it was with Whatanui's mahi with the Hikoi documentary.
Yep.
Moving. So I've watched it, so I will be tuning up on Monday.
Oh, good. Tell us what you thought of the doco.
Oh, I thought it was amazing, and I was moved by it. I was there at that march in the middle of it. So, yeah, all those insights that were coming out of the documentary, so accurate. I remember when Tariana, we were at a meeting and Tariana was talking about being shuffled away, into the cars, trying to avoid the press and the stress that came over it. It was a dark time.
Yeah.
I had forgotten the cruel language from Auntie Helen, and it was cruel and it was ugly.
Yeah.
And it encouraged the rest of this country to be ugly too. So
yes,
it was a dark time. But I did want to say they touched on it in the documentary, but I don't think they drove it home enough. It's not really a significant point, but it might be right now given the amount of protest that is coming our way, that has been, and this unification moment that's going on. So they talked about the number of arrests.
Yeah.
And the number of protests. So I remember that night of the protest, it was a stormy day, it was dark. But the news media actually reported 15,000 on the streets of Wellington that day.
Right.
And that was the number that was reported to the public. So, but actually a month later, Wally Homaha and the police report actually came out, and now the police are experts at crowd control, so number counting is what they do in this kind of event.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The actual numbers in the police report quote 40,000 on the streets of Wellington that day. But remembering that march was actually 2 weeks long. So over a 2-week period, they calculated 120,000 participants throughout the length of this country.
Right, because there would have been people who, like, around Central North Island would have marched there but didn't make it to Wellington or in the south. Yeah, gotcha. Wow, 120,000. Do you think, Paula, that with this, the treaty referendum, the referendum on the principles, if that gets anywhere near past the first reading towards the second, it will be a similar sort of uprising? More than that, less than that? What are your thoughts?
I think it will be more because this time round we actually have tangata tiriti who want to be part of this. That wasn't so apparent back then, but there were tangata tiriti back then. So that part of this moving sense of unity for this whole country has grown, and that excites me, and it actually excites Māori too this time round.
It's actually interesting you'd say that, because just thinking about this for the first time, Whata said last night when I asked about who are the leaders from 2004 that'll be followed today, because it was Dame Whina Cooper in 75, and he said, well, there was only Dame Whina Cooper in 75, but in 2004, and he listed off a few of them, like Hilda and Hone, Harawira, and, I thought Tariana was in there as well, and Annette Sykes was in there. And so it's gone like from one focal point leader in 75 to several focal point leaders to then in 2024, maybe the difference will be several focal point leaders and tangata tiriti. That may be the step up that the next one has as well.
Absolutely, and I could probably name a couple of tangata tiriti who would be one of those. What was the term you used, Pat? It was giants on those shoulders.
Yeah, there's a saying that says, if I've seen further, it's because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
Always love that phrase.
Thinking, tangata tiriti that are of that ilk. I could name a couple now. Andrew Judd would be one. Anne Salmond is another. Sean Elias. There's quite a large range that we can celebrate. So we don't feel so alone this time.
Yeah.
The language is nastier though from that other space, but and our rangatahi are stronger, but they're not alone either because the next generation of tangata tiriti is so much more enlightened.
Yeah.
And not held hostage. With regard to those numbers, we can go wow about the 40,000. We can go wow about the 120,000, but the real number is not one single arrest over 2 weeks. 120,000 people, not one single arrest. So that's just also. I was reminded of that yesterday because I was at the Wellington rally with Ngāti Toa Rangatira and Te Akau Ngāti Raukawa yesterday. They actually marched in silence, so there's a silent hum. It was a bit. It was a bit Martin Luther King-y.
All right. Hey, Paula, thanks for jumping on tonight, mate. Really love hearing from you.
No problem. You guys do well.
All right, dude. All the best. Appreciate that. And let's keep on just going straight away. Frosty, you're going to be up next if you want to turn your mic on and get ready for it. And then Aidan. And then I'm going to say Womb Atholio after that as well. Let's drag it down there, Frosty. Oopsie, hang on. Come on, work for me. There we go. Frosty, you're there. Speak to us.
Kia ora, fellas.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. How are we doing today?
You're doing all right, man. What's going on?
Nothing much, but I just wanted to talk about the school lunches.
Yeah.
Because I go to a college that has school lunches. And, well, like the right tend to do, they tell half-truths. You see, so David Seymour is like, oh, something needs to be cut, something needs to happen, and I would agree because what we get for school lunches, $8 a meal, it doesn't really show. Like the quality of the lunches, if you looked at the meal, eat the meal, it doesn't seem like it's worth $8. Right? So maybe there are some cost cutting you could do there, but. And I also have to say is that sandwiches are the most popular lunch, right? David Seymour says he wants to go back to basics.
Yeah.
Sandwiches and fruit here and there. Sandwiches are the most popular lunch out of all of them. So he's also technically right. But but it's also good to have some diversity, and it's also $3 for a meal. You're not going to get a lot of nutritional value out of that. Okay, bulk funding. I'm pretty sure in the 90s there was huge outrage about bulk funding with education. Now we're having more bulk funding with school lunches and education. So it's just history repeating itself again. And look, the guy said earlier about school lunches is that there's this big centralisation model. At my school, at least, because we are in the lower part of the North Island, we get our school lunches from Gilmore's, which is. I'm not sure if you guys have it down in the South Island.
Yeah,
but
we do.
I know Gilmore's.
You do? Yeah, we get it from Gilmore's, which is directly in the city. I don't know how many schools it supplies, but I'm unsure whether we will be affected by road closures or something, desert road being closed or something like that. But $3 for lunch, you're not going to get a lot of nutritional value out of that. Although there is something. I just saw a comment saying a diversity. David Seymour might cancel it. But sandwiches are the most popular lunch. But $3 plus bulk funding, I don't think they're going to be high quality sandwiches, especially after the ones we're getting.
Hey, now tell me something, Frosty. You said you're at school now. Is that right?
College, yeah.
Like university, like college, like in secondary school.
Yep, high school.
And you're a patron as well?
Yep.
You're a patron and you're a school student.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude.
I just thought I thought it was the case. I didn't realize you were still at school. It's where do you get your money from? You got a part-time job or something?
No, it's a work in process, but I would like to have one by the end of the year. But I just had some savings, and I thought, you know what? I'm not particularly saving up for anything at the moment. Patreon isn't that expensive. I might as well just fork it out because I enjoy watching you guys and I appreciate your content.
Look at you. All right, dude, we're going to let you go. Thank you for that. Appreciate for being a patron. Maybe we might see you next weekend at the meetup. Aidan, we're going to have a chat to Aidan now, and then we're going to have one more after that, and then we're going to be done. Are you there, Aidan? Come in. We're speaking to you.
Hey, lads. How's it going?
Yeah, going pretty good. How are you?
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Hey, just wanted to quickly circle back to the Waitangi stuff there.
Yeah.
I am not the most educated on this, but I just wanted to grab your guys' views. To me, David Seymour saying chieftainship for everyone really kind of makes me cringe every single time. It's, to me, it resembles all lives matter kind of thing.
It's exactly what it is.
It takes away from, like, to me, chieftainship feels like an exclusively indigenous populations thing. You know, it's like when everyone's a leader, there's no leaders.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading up on it briefly, and it was saying Māori didn't have the same concepts of leadership as the Western world portrays it at the moment, and naturally leaders rose among iwi and hapu and tribes. So it's like when everyone's a chief, a leader, no one's a leader.
Right.
Yeah,
so like
you're exactly right.
Trying to destroy. No.
It dilutes. He's trying to dilute what is special about the treaty. He's trying to dilute Māoridom amongst the greater population. He's trying to dilute everything. And then when it's diluted, it's not worth anything.
And I also think Chewy and Aidan, now I'm not an expert either, Aidan, so someone in the chat can correct me, for his philosophy to go through, everyone does have to have chieftainship acknowledgement because that's how it's referred in the treaty. So therefore, if it's in the treaty using those words and he wants everyone to be the same, then everyone has to be those words. Whereas, as we just heard tonight, the experts are saying the treaty speaks about Māori only. So that's why it's using those sorts of words. But of course, that then falls apart for David Seymour if he wants to make everyone the same. So therefore, he either has to change the words to something different that's more all-consuming, or he has to change the people to fit the word. So it's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else tonight, Aidan?
There's so much I could probably go on for hours. I just wanted to touch on, like, as a tangata reti, I would say this is the issue I'm zoned in on most, because there's one thing I remember, and someone said it, you know, Māori are kind of like the final hope for this country, you know, because I strongly believe that they, and you guys have said it yourself, that they want to get rid of the treaty so they can mine resources, you know, squeeze everything, extract all they can, and then just, you know, not care.
Yeah. No, that's probably a part of it as well, Aidan. Hey, look, we're going to move on, sir. Thank you very much for your call. We appreciate you.
Yeah, cheers, lads.
All right, thanks, Aidan. Love hearing from you. Now, I'm going to double check this name because I'm not particularly good at this. We're going to go with Woomatholio. Have we got Woomatholio? Is that have we got the...
That's a great name.
Wombat Holio.
Oh, Wombat Holio. Oh, that's right, like Cornholio. Got it.
Yes,
but
indeed.
I saw the WOMB and got womb, a folio.
Yes.
But I've got
It's
you need to put a little
quite
dash
common.
there or something. Wombat holder.
It's
I've
quite
gotcha.
common for people to make that error.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to correct your stats and figures on the job seeker and what it's actually worth.
Sure.
So the base rate's $353 with
Yep.
a maximum entitlement of accommodation at $165 in Auckland. So it's nowhere near that $600. It's about $500
All right.
for most people.
All right. So we got to not trust the people in our chat anymore. Hey, throw them to the wolves.
Well, it's easy to overestimate it because people will judge it based on what they receive, and
Yeah.
they might receive additional entitlements.
Yeah. Although the good thing is we weren't doing that. We weren't suggesting, oh look, that's lots of money. We were just doing that to work out how much. It
No,
would
no, no,
cost
I
overall.
know.
Yeah.
Just for the fun numbers.
Yeah.
The other thing was with the school lunches, the thing that I don't seem to personally be able to grasp, I don't see why it's such a bad thing. I think all students at all schools should be entitled
Yes.
to a nice lunch.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Simply because, especially now, we live in a society where both parents have to work to make ends meet. Why don't we take
Yep.
just a little bit off a parent's plate and stop them having to get up so early to pack a lunch?
Yeah. Take it off their plate and put it on someone else's plate. Literally like that. I saw what you did there. I saw it. Sure, we didn't.
Yeah, quite literally.
This is one of the things that are saying about any sort of dilution of this program is when you start putting barriers up, you start othering people. You start, oh, look at that kid, he's getting the free lunch because he's poor, all of that sort of stuff. When you just open it up, you both get that economy of scale, and you make it egalitarian as well. And it's just a fact of life.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
This is the thing I don't understand. For a libertarian party to not want every child to have an equal start in life with equal rights to lunch, I simply can't get it.
Dude, you don't look. Just don't start using logic back at David Seymour.
You don't apply logic to Seymour.
It's only when he wants to use it is he consistent, and when he doesn't, then he's not. So let's give him a break. Poor old David.
Yeah, I simply don't see. And what was that? Sorry.
I was just going to say, if it was a truly libertarian thing, there would be a pile of food at the start of the day, and the kids would have to fight each other to eat, and then the ones that eat would learn better, and then they run the companies. That's the libertarian wet dream, I think.
Just a little side note, completely unrelated. If you haven't looked it up, you should look up the libertarian experiment in America. Small town decided that they wanted to operate as libertarians.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so good. 100% backed. It's so good.
It took like 10 days for them to be completely overrun with bears.
I know not of this this study, so I've written it down to look it up.
I will find it. I will put it in the chat. It is hilarious.
All right.
It doesn't work. It absolutely does not work. Yeah, so that was all, guys.
Cool. Thanks, Wombat.
Appreciate.
Okay, Wombat's moved on. Appreciate that. And actually, there's one other person, and because he always pays a late fee, I think it's only fair that we give old kooky Nick a bit of a chance to spread his vocal cords. Is that right? You there, Nick?
G'day.
G'day. What's going on?
I'm going to be quite short. I just want to mention brainworms.
Oh, are you talking about RFK Jr.?
Yes.
Go on. Tell the
Go.
people if they don't know.
There's a report today that they that he apparently had brainworms in his head. There's a scan or something as well. I just thought that was quite on topic, considering Chewy mentioned that he had brainworms at one point.
Yeah, let me drag this across.
I love that he put it out there as a statement. That was just, I couldn't believe. I thought it was the Onion. As like, yeah, I had brainworms, but it won't stop me being a good president.
I mean, but if you actually have a look at who he's running against, it probably wouldn't. What about Kirsty Noem this week, shooting her puppy dog dead, and then saying to the world that she met Kim Jong-un, and then when challenged left, right, and centre, did you meet him? She'd say, I don't talk about my private meetings. We don't want you to talk about the meeting. Did you meet him? I'm not going to talk about that. We are taking it out of the book, though. Oh, so you didn't meet him. I'm not going to talk about it. It's just the Democratic Party on top of RFK Jr. has just been a joy this week, I have to say.
I've been saying people have brain worms for years at this point, and to have someone that's held in such high esteem to literally have brain worms, was such a gift. There is a God.
Hey, Nick, while you're there, thank you so much for being a part of what we do, supporting us and shouting us out and, spreading the word and that. You're a vital part of you're a vital cog in the engine that we are, and we appreciate you.
I have, I love supporting you guys. It's fun to watch. It's fun to chime in on the chat. And everyone should hit the like right now.
There you go.
By the way, there you go. Yeah.
The king of hit the like. Hey, dude, thanks so much for giving us a tingle this evening. We'll talk soon.
All good.
All right, dude. Appreciate
Cheers,
that,
buddy.
All right, sir. I think we're pretty much done for the week. In fact, that was actually a nice little look at that. It was like 25 minutes of talk back. Hubba huge. And I'm
going to finish the show on a couple of memes if I can.
Oh, you can do what you want, love.
Look at that one. Show me on the doll where the children getting a meal at school hurt you.
Nice.
And I think you're going to really appreciate this one. This is a screen grab for the New Zealand Herald's Facebook page.
I know our listeners will enjoy waking up to Ryan and sharing they deserve and right. And is that for reals?
That is for reals. That is how it was cut off. I know our listeners will enjoy waking up to Ryan sharing the latest news and providing anal ...
Not comfortable. Not
uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable with Ryan Bridge providing a service that early in the morning? Interesting.
I am uncomfortable. Winnie Bear, you think the humans have free will, or do you think it's an illusion?
Oh, we've reached that part of the show. Holy shit.
Yeah. Winnie Bear's just come off his third toke, I think, and he's wanting to. Do we have free will, or is it an illusion? We need to get comfortable. Both of us have just leaned back. Have you noticed that? We've both just leaned back with that.
Yeah, because it feels like a Joe Rogan podcast now.
I tell you what,
maybe next week
we'll do an AMA. I mean, we did that about a month ago.
Yeah,
and maybe the free will conversation can come up in the AMA. Technically, it's AUA. Ask us anything. So maybe next Thursday we'll book that in. And Winnie Bear. Actually, we'll remember yours, Winnie Bear, because you're on a super chat. We appreciate that. And we'll address that when we do our next AUA. You've started a few of the chats in there, Chewy. I know they're probably moments gone, so to speak, but is there anyone to throw out there before we head off? You've got 2 minutes and 46 seconds.
All right, Gary says we need to get Grant Robertson as a guest to hear his perspective of what Nicola Willis is doing. We need to line that up for the fucking budget, I think, if we can.
Yeah, that's good. Actually, I'll get him to come down. He lives up the hill now.
Yeah. Go and door knock him.
Yeah.
And Shannon made a comment much earlier in the show, but I wanted to leave this to the end because it's a great one. They keep on saying, what does New Zealand look like in 2040? And plainly the answer should be more Māori, not less.
I will also finish on one of the comments that really struck me from that documentary yesterday. That I have deleted from my notes. No, I didn't. 21 minutes and 46 seconds in, this is what was said. It saddens me how easily we opt for politics at the expense of Māori. And that's what's happening. You look at Don Brash. You look at like with Don Brash, that audio of speech. There's a documentary about him around that time. Like there was an hour-long show, and he was watching it on the news, and he zoomed in. He got rated higher, and then But what happened was they worked it, they got it, they kicked it in, and then he spent the next kind of 6 months just tailing off, and then eventually losing. But the clip I uploaded today for the weekend, when we talked about that, like I've put it up as a clip, I've said Don Brash was the leader of the ACT Party for about 5 minutes. He left all his speeches in the top drawer of the desk, and Seymour's found them and he is literally following them word for word. And it's, well, a little bit like it worked again before the election. He got quite a big bump and he started to tail down a little bit, but he didn't tail down as much as Brash did. Oh, he's still there. So he's got his foot in the door to have Luxon open the door for him to fucking break things, which then Luxon owns.
Yeah. And look, much like that fella that walked into my work earlier this week and went eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I think when politicians want to weaponize this stuff, you can't just let it slide. You can't just be polite and go, oh, I'm just going to ignore it. You need to jump on this stuff. You need to give feedback. We're past this time where Māori bashing, the rhetoric, the wanting to dilute Māori into a big beige soup of nothing, the wanting to do a referendum on who has more rights. All of this, we have to put this in the dustbin of history and move past it. And I think it's the only thing that you can do is to stand up and be counted and to give loud, robust feedback of we don't do this anymore.
Yeah. Yep. Well said. Well finished up. Let's wrap there for the week. Hey team, thanks for being with us this week. Remember, a huge thanks to our patrons. Huge thanks to everybody else for watching and listening. Remember, you can support us in lots of ways, including, especially through the weekends, we make a whole bunch of kind of 2 to 7 minute clips. They get shared all over Twitter, all over Facebook, all over YouTube. Share our stuff around, bring people's attention to it. That's another way. It's incredibly valuable, right? Helping us grow, helping us reach more people with the messages that probably, if you're watching or listening right now, you already support. Use it as a way to show other people that there is a better way than Mr. Seymour. In fact, did I already I feel like someone gave us a super chat tonight about the worst human being in the world. Did I put that up? I can't remember putting that up.
I don't know, every day blends into each other. I have to apologise that at no point when we've been talking about David Seymour taking away lunches have we used the term "feed me Seymour."
Feed me Seymour. Okay, that's got to go into the.
And I feel like that's a lapse on our behalf, and I apologise.
Yeah. Yes. No, very good movie. I'm just going back because I feel like someone did a super chat that said that, and I don't think I put it up, and it's not starred anymore for some. But when we say that, when we say starred, we just mean highlighted. It's what the system does. Oh man, you guys chat a lot. I'm scrolling. Oh, here we go. Oh, it was gold. In case we didn't do it. It's not a rumor. Seymour genuinely is the worst human. Keep on scrolling. I was listening to that today. Back to my 90s roots. All right, team. Love you bits. We will see you Monday night from 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hairy News. And yes, remember you can get us all weekend, bighairynews@gmail.com. You can get us on the Facebook page. You can get me on Twitter. Chewy's there sometimes, but if you need to message me or get a hold of me, you can get me on Twitter. bighairynews@gmail.com is the best way to get straight through to the inbox. So thank you for joining us this week. Incredible week. Lots of incredible guests and great chat from you guys and from Chewy. Me, nah, I'm still working on it. Catch you on Monday from 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo.
Cheers, fam.